Hey guys, it's Danny. Well, alrighty then, we have a new orchid. I don't know what's happening lately, or at least this year, I'm discovering new and new hybrids. Now, they might not be new, but they're new in the stores. And I'm not the only one. I see that many of you find these hybrids in stores as well. So, first it was the Nelly Isler, which was completely red. Then at IKEA, we found that splash dendrobium, which is so beautiful. And now, yet again, another type of kind of splash dendrobium. Now, again, I don't have an ID for this one, but I know where you can purchase it. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about mine. I found it at Carrefour. It was discounted. It does not look all that great, but I simply needed to have it and at least give it a chance. So, yeah, another splash dendrobium. But what's so interesting about this dendrobium? Well, I don't know if you can see or if you can tell, but the flowers are so petite. I am dying for it. I don't know, I seem to have a lot of preferences or a lot of things that I really like. I do like big flowers, but I do like tiny little flowers in clusters, of course. I like contrast, and when it comes to splashes and stuff of the sorts, well, I do like those too. I like a lot of things, so I'm not gonna say this is one of my favorites or anything, but I do really like it. Let's stop blabbing and talk about this orchid. Now, as I was telling you, I found it at Carrefour, but on eBay, Cutest from Poland has it as well for sale. He had a few varieties. I'll link it down below, of course. I really hope you can find it for sale if you really want this dendrobium. Right now, in this moment, it's still for sale, but I'm not sure how long it's gonna be for sale, so if you click the link and you don't find it available, I'm sorry. He only has one. He had a few for sale. And what I noticed was that each dendrobium was a little bit different. He had one with mostly white for sale. He is now having one with mostly purple for sale. And as you can see, mine is a little bit more white than purple. So I'm guessing there is a bit of variety with this dendrobium. Now, Peter has a sort of an ID for it. In his eBay offer, he calls it a Dendrobium compactum crossed with Dendrobium Phalaenopsis splash. Now, I'm not entirely sure about this ID. I saw in pictures the Dendrobium compactum does not look like this. This one looks indeed like the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis, and well, to be politically correct, let's call it Dendrobium bijibum. But for certain what it is, I'm not entirely sure about that eBay ID, but it might be a hybrid of the Dendrobium compactum. So let's take a look at the dendrobium itself. The first time that I saw it from a distance actually. I was not even in the store. I saw the flowers and I knew it was an orchid. It had tiny flowers that were white, which is odd. And I saw the canes. At first I thought it was a new Baryota with more white. But as I walked into the store, I realized it was totally something else. I didn't even repot this orchid or anything. So let's take a look at the canes. Yeah, they're pretty plump, pretty thick. So this might indeed be a cross of the Dendrobium compactum. Flower-wise, it really doesn't look like that. But who knows? I'm really not sure. This is a totally new hybrid or variety. I've never seen it for sale, nor did I see pictures of it. So at this point, it does indeed look like a Dendrobium Phalaenopsis. And P.S., I'm calling it a Phalaenopsis because it's the popular name. And I have many new subscribers that might not know the name bijibum. I know it exists. We've talked about it in a previous video. So yes, I'm fully aware of that, but I am calling it the way people call it, just so we are on the same page. So it does look like a Dendrobium Phalaenopsis. Flower-wise though, not so much. The flower spikes are identical to the Dendrobium Baryota. That's why at first I thought it was the Baryota or a variety. They're very thin, quite tall compared to the entire orchid, and each pseudobulb has a multitude of spikes. So this is the pseudobulb that is blooming now. Let me show you. It has 3 flower spikes. There we go, but looking at an older cane, I can see remnants of another 3 flower spikes, so I'm guessing this is the type of dendrobium which produces multiple flower spikes. They can arise from the top, but I'm pretty sure they can arise from somewhere on the cane as well. The flowers are not fragrant, and I just saw a mealybug. I just purchased this one and I didn't check it properly, so okay, I'm gonna get a Q-tip soaked in alcohol, get rid of that mealybug, and that's that. Be right back. Alrighty, getting back to the orchid. This is not a fragrant orchid. Up until now, I did not feel any type of fragrance, and if I know these types of dendrobiums, they are not known for being fragrant. Shape-wise, the flowers do resemble the Dendrobium bijibum or Phalaenopsis, rather than the compactum, if this is indeed a compactum hybrid. Each flower spike can produce multiple flowers. On mine, most of the flowers are gone, but that's okay, and judging by the number of the flower spikes, I would say it is a prolific bloomer. So now let's get you in a little bit closer and check the flowers a little bit. Alrighty, so the flowers are indeed splashy in color. I cannot say this is a peloric or has any peloria trait. As you can see, the lip is not necessarily very similar to the petals. The pattern is pretty random on each flower. It doesn't have a specific pattern of color, but indeed it does present these splashes, somewhat gradient-like, and inside the lip there is quite a bit of veining. There's no fuzz like other dendrobiums, but the veinings are there. On some flowers, the transition between white and purple is quite abrupt, while on others, as you can see, it's a sort of a gradient type of pattern. It goes from purple to some sort of pink and then the white. Also, the little stem of the flowers is pink on all of the flowers. This is such a beautiful trait. I really like it. It's not like I look at the stems of the flowers, but it adds to the overall display if you look at it from afar. If the little stems would have been green, this whole display would not look so pink as it actually looks now. So I really like this trait. The Nelly Isler, the red variety, has, at least for me, at least mine, has red stems as well, and I again really like it because it adds to the overall display. When you look at it from afar and you don't really realize what is a flower, what is a stem, if everything is the same color, it just makes for a much brighter and vivid color overall. And it would appear there is a congregation of sparrows outside. Never mind them. I don't know about you, but I like birds singing, no matter what type of birds, even crows. So anyway, as you can see, no flower is perfectly identical with the other one. The splashes of white and purple are pretty random. They do follow a pattern, but they're not identical. I love this trait. And looking at it from afar, oh my goodness, that's just the prettiest thing ever. Flowers are really dainty. The white is pure white. The purple is quite vivid. It's not very washed away. And I can only imagine with more flowers, this orchid can have a pretty lovely display. Now, problem is my orchid is not in the best condition. I'm not surprised it was discounted. So, the canes in the back look pretty okay, but the new cane, this one has the flowers, is pretty shriveled. And also, it is losing one of its leaves. Now, looking inside the pot, and let me fix that exposure. Alrighty, we can see we have roots, and they're in good condition, I would say, at least these ones. So right now, I'm really hoping I don't have some rotting issues with this cane. I'll get into it. I don't have hydrogen peroxide right now I need to buy, so that's when I will repot it. The roots look okay, the cane doesn't. I might have some rotting issues on this one. Oh well, that's that. I have lovely canes in the back, so I think he will be okay, but sadly, yeah. Now, when I purchased this orchid, oh, it still is, it was so heavy. The pot was so heavy, and this is because in the store, it was watered like there was no tomorrow. You know, orchids come in a plastic sleeve. The sleeve had water in it. Everything was completely soaked. I actually removed a layer of the medium because it was higher than this. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I have some rotting issues on this cane, sadly. Hope it's not the case, but yeah, I don't know. If you want me to make a repotting on this guy, let me know down below. I will do it. Sadly though, I couldn't choose in between different specimens because this was the only one. So we'll see what we can find and what we can do. I really hope there's no rotting issues. You know what I'm thinking or what I'm hoping? I'm hoping this cane simply detached from the rhizome, from the other canes. It would be much better than to have a rotting pseudobulb because that would be harder to treat, but a single pseudobulb, let's call it a front bulb, I can deal with that. Now, when I first saw this orchid in the pictures of Catasetum 2, I thought it was a pretty normal dendrobium. I thought the flowers were the same size as the Dendrobium Blue Happiness, and that dendrobium is currently the one with the tiniest flowers in my collection, but no, they're tinier than this. And I'm pretty sure you cannot really tell from the video, so let's make a little comparison. There you go. That's the latest splash dendrobium that I got, and this is the new one. It's pretty tiny, you guys. And that's the comparison. A cluster of tiny little flowers, there are 3 here, are almost, actually tinier than one entire flower of the Dendrobium Splash that I purchased last week. This is a pretty big size for a dendrobium. It is a little bit bigger than the Burana Green, if you know that one. But it's a pretty typical size for other dendrobiums like the Thailand Black. So you can see this guy is tiny. And now having a comparison, you can see exactly how tiny it is. Shape-wise, the flowers are pretty similar, as you can see. The size, though, is absolutely different, and even the flower display. I'm actually going to show you another comparison. I'm going to place this one next to the Baryota, so you'll see why at first I thought it was a Baryota with some white. And there we go. As you can see, the flowers are almost identical in size. Now, I know many of you are already acquainted with the Dendrobium Baryota, and I would say the flower size is very, very similar. So if anything, this looks more like the Berriota or the Kingianum, at least in size, rather than the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis. I have never in my life seen such a tiny flower dendrobium, which in my eyes makes it special. I don't mind tiny flowers, but from a distance, you cannot tell the difference between the two. Canes look very similar, except the fact that these are plumper and fatter. Leaves look very similar. The actual flower spike, can you tell? It's almost identical. I actually call it identical, while the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis in general has a thicker flower spike and flower size almost identical. Now that I look at it, I think the Berriota is a little bit bigger flower size. So there we go, such a tiny dendrobium. I wanted to make this comparison because it's just so weird to see but so beautiful at the same time. And I can imagine a multitude of flowers will just look absolutely fantastic. Too bad it's not fragrant. Now it might just be that mine is stressed, although on eBay it doesn't appear to be fragrant either. Usually Peter tells you if the orchid is fragrant or not, and usually he's right. So I'm guessing this indeed is not a fragrant orchid. If you don't know the Berriota is fragrant. It smells like honey. It is beautiful. It has a beautiful fragrance. But I have to say, I much rather prefer this type of flower because of the contrast and the variation. Not saying the Berriota is boring, but you know what I mean. So do check Carrefour out, you might be in luck. If not, check the link down below for eBay, I hope you will find it. And that wraps it up for today. It's a great new find and I'm looking forward for other new finds. This year already we have 3 novelties in our collection, so the year started really well, wouldn't you say? So thank you guys for watching, hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know what you think down below if you have any ideas or you think this orchid resembles a different orchid, maybe we can find its parentage. Or if you know the hybrids of Compactum, again let me know down below. The Compactum is not necessarily an orchid I heard a lot about before, so yeah, do let me know your thoughts down below. Alrighty, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for daily orchids and plants videos, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye! This month we have another premiere. This is my Hoya Neocaledonica, which already I have for 3 or maybe 4 years. It is the first time it blooms for me, and it is a yellow Hoya. Now this is actually a fragrant Hoya. I cannot tell you if it only smells in the nighttime or in the daytime. It kind of smells all the time, to be honest. And it has a pretty fragrance, kind of mild, but kind of minty at the same time. I'll make a Hoya update pretty soon and we'll talk more about it, but yay, such a pretty Hoya.